Welcome to the High Strangeness channel. This is Brie and Jen. That was our original channel. So I did not plan this. It's not going to be super long. I would like for it to be kind of an intro or to lead into something else. But if I didn't get rid of some of my subs yesterday, I'm sure this is bound to offend some people, but as much as I love y'all, that's not why I do this. I don't do this specifically to offend anyone or any person or individual or group. It's not about that. It's about it being time for truth. And there's a reason for cliches and stereotypes. Sometimes they're true, but sometimes they teach us things that are purposely, and no, there's no F in purposely. It's just purposely or intentionally, not purposefully. That's two different words. Purposely. Sorry, but somebody has to be maintaining some semblance of propriety and proper grammar, and I am definitely not that person. Don't be like me. I've been made a lot of mistakes, but that's why I do this as some type of reparation towards my family and my community, of course, to God first, but for if I ever misled or misinformed anyone, and I know I've misled people not intentionally, but because I was in the dark. So I do this now to just try and bring some light and truth to things so people know, or at least if you're going to be involved in something, you're not in blind ignorance. You are willfully and knowingly aware of what you're doing. But I was thinking that sometimes cliches are not true. We're told that if you do not know history, you're doomed to repeat it. I don't know about that anymore. I would argue that the fact that we are so focused on our history is why we sometimes see racism, something that we thought was not gone, but at least not, we were healing from it, right? And now it's popping up again because that's where our focus is. That's what people talk about. And what is the saying? Where your energy flows, or where your focus goes, energy flows, something like that. I would argue at this point that we are way too focused on things of the past, and that is why they seem to be repetitive, but there's another reason too. Now we're going to get into a little fringe here, and a lot of people aren't going to like this. I can already hear people rolling their eyes and turning the channel off. I know this is not a normal polished channel. I do face-to-face videos when I have the time or the inclination. And I don't have that a lot anymore because the focus is not me and it's not my face and I'm not a brand. And I fell into that for a while as a makeup influencer on Facebook. I was starting to brand myself. I was one of the first to do that. And I put the brakes on when I realized how truly dangerous that can be for the female spirit, especially. And so a lot of the things I do now are to try and make up for that, even when younger folks, even people my own age might think I lecture, and it's not that. I don't want to see people make the same mistakes that I did. And, people are going to do what they're going to do, but at least we got to try and not allow that to happen. So jumping in, I've seen people do this. I saw one person do this on TikTok. I don't have TikTok. I don't use TikTok. I don't have cable. I don't watch cable. I'm subscribed to like Forbes, NBC, Fox, and CNN, all of the three or whatever, just to see what they put out. Now we're seeing Kamala's face everywhere. They're rebranding the presidential run. And lo and behold, nobody nominated this woman. So are you taking over the country, or are you just taking over the election? Because that speech was indicative of both happening. And I love how they just kind of sneak these things on the American public. So I'm going to point you to some things. And what you do at this point is obviously your choice. It's always your choice what you do. You have a choice. Somebody got in an argument with me the other day, again, just trying to have a beer at sitting at the bar because I was alone and I'm not going to sit in the restaurant area when I'm alone waiting for food. just kind of chilling there, wanting to order food. And there's got to be, you can never just have a conversation, especially with the opposite sex. It's always got to be some ulterior motive. And, I get followed around now. It's just ridiculous. And I don't steal. I'm not a thief. I don't know. Like, I don't steal. I pay for the things that I buy in the businesses that I'm in. Of course, I have my own opinions and whatnot. But if I go to the tanning salon, I'm not waving, a Catholic flag or anything like that. I go to tan. I don't go to preach to people. So everything that's going on now, I don't really consent to it. But if it's God's will, it's going to happen either way. That's what people don't understand. Oh, well, they said if God consents, that means we can do it because nobody's going to stop us. God's not going to stop us. You don't really understand what that means, do you? It doesn't mean that we won't defend ourselves. It doesn't mean that we can't reply or respond or speak back. It simply means that the final say is up to God. But it doesn't mean we give up. It's not like some type of white flag. So I just want to be clear about some things because I feel like everything I love, again, as I said yesterday, I do take it personal. France is fallen. The Catholic Church is being revamped. It's nothing like it should be. Go make your own church if you don't like this one. But it's not about that. You see, they're after the church because it's the church. Or they would go make their own, I have no doubt. They've made their own organization. They've made their own cult. They could probably make their own, they've made their own areas, geographical areas, by kicking other people out and pushing them out. We're dealing with a society of egotistical bullies, narcissistic bullies. And there's no other way to say it. You want to bully me into voting. You want to bully me into being with someone or living my life a certain way, being in a certain area. All by you might not be physically forcing me, but you're doing everything you can to make it impossible for people to just go relocate, live a life. You want them to like abandon their house, abandon their things they've worked their whole lives for, abandon their families and homes and property because you're making it almost impossible for us to live. And you know what you're doing. And other people know what you're doing, and nobody will stand up for anybody because they're scared they'll be next. You don't get it, do you? If you were just initiated into the club in the last few years, it is to make you feel warm and cushy, to get you to do somebody else's bidding, and then they don't need you anymore. Useful idiots. I believe it was said in a speech the other day. But let me continue because I'm sure I've offended quite enough people at this point. There's Sammy. And the truth is I love you. I love my country. I love my family. And that's why I'm doing this, is because I love you all. Most of us know what magus means. And again, I've seen this done one time on TikTok. I don't watch other videos that are like my own channel for the simple fact that I want to learn. So I watch things that are a little different than me. People presume and assume that they know why I'm watching or reading what I'm watching or reading. I might be looking for a very specific piece of information, so I get a book and I look for that piece of information, and I don't touch it again because I got what I needed from it. Again, there's a lot of judgment happening, and it's not from the ones that you're saying are hateful. It's not from true Christ followers, because we're not hateful like that. I hate the system. That's an entity. It's not a souled being. I hate the way it operates. That doesn't mean I think it's okay to just tear it down and leave people hanging and stressing. There's a way to go about doing things. There's a way to try to implement change. And Obama did start to do it. And they say that this administration was just a recurrence of that. I'm sorry, but when he was in office, things were good for me. When Trump was in office, things weren't terrible for me, but they started to get weird. I will say that. And is this why? Let's dip our toes into the fringe a little bit and open our minds. Holy Spirit, I pray that you bless everyone that I interact with this day with an open mind, but not too open, with a soft heart that's just soft enough to be receptive to ideas that maybe are a little different than theirs. but definitely receptive to truth. I pray that you're all blessed this day and that you all have a good day. Magus. Most of us know what this means. If you've read the Bible, if you know Moses, if you know the Torah, you know magus. And this is why I cannot stand people trying to put this title of witch, because it says in the King James, suffer not a witch to live. Obviously, they're in their own category. What did a witch do in Hansel and Gretel? You know what she did. She put them in the oven. She lured them in with a lot of treats. Here's some candy, little kid, little child, little delicious child. Now, again, it's a fairy tale. I'm using that example for a reason. When the 3 wise men visited Christ, they were described as Magi. Moses is described as a Magi. So either we have 2 different books here, the New Testament or the Old Testament, the Torah, and the new one actually meant. You see, a witch wasn't somebody who played with gemstones, because if you're going to say that, then you should call Aaron and Moses witches too. Hold up, don't assume you know what I mean there. I'm not offending them. I'm saying if you're going to call people who enjoy gemstones, if you're going to, and pretty much every woman on the face of the earth who has a wedding ring, if you're going to call them all witches, then you have to be clear across the board. Moses and Aaron used gemstones on Aaron's vest, which was given to them those instructions to make that by God. So I'm not doing this to ridicule any one individual or any group of individuals, although we have some serious entities and movements that need to be stopped in their tracks, and the only way to stop them is to expose what's behind them. That's what I determined to do. I'm not mad at the rainbow community. I have family there that I love very much. I have friends there, people that I've worked with side by side, saving lives. And yes, tending to the old people is pretty much saving their life every day, because there's no one else who wants to do it. So again, it's not the individuals that I have an issue with. It is the movement itself. It is the spirit behind it. And it is with the original beings that started it, because I don't believe that they are of mankind, and they do not have mankind's best interest at heart. And you will see that just about every person, or every elitist, right, who is, what is that guy's name? Noah Tavari, I think. He lives with his partner, and he's very anti-human. He does not like his own self, obviously, because if you hate humankind, you must hate yourself. Or are they human? I'm just asking questions here that need asking. And you can pretend that everything is normal, and you can keep shutting your eyes to the fact that there are different beings here. But that is only to your detriment and your family's detriment, because that will hurt you. Whether they hurt you or not, I'm not declaring that. Living in falsehood harms people, and they know this. You should be aware of the history that we have, that we live here, where we all come from, but we should not dwell on that. Our eyes and ears and focus should be on the present moment, and yes, a little planning for the future, of course. Magus, member of the ancient Persian priestly caste. Notice that word, caste. What do we have in our society today? We have newscasters, forecasters. What does for mean? It is the suffix of before, the root word of before. Before, forecaster. They cast it before it happens. If you believe them, then so it shall be. Is that the case with everybody? No, but we have some people here whose words are more powerful than others. And it would do certain individuals well to remember that. How many people have you put around me now? They disappear pretty quickly. I'm just saying. And I've not done anything to physically harm any of them. I'm just prayed up. That's it. I pray all the time. Even if you don't see me praying, I'm praying. If you wonder why I whisper to myself, I'm praying. Most of the time. Sometimes I'm counting if I'm working or something like that. But most of the time, I'm saying the Our Father, the Hail Mary, the Glory Be, or I'm just talking to God. 10,000 shall fall at our left side and right. 10,000 shall fall at our right side, 1,000 shall fall at our left, and none shall come near me, because who can be against me when God is for me? I don't know if those are the same. I string Bible verses together a lot in prayer, so sometimes I get mixed up in what actually goes together. Forgive me. Magi. Now, these are entries linked to magus. We'll get to the title of the video in a moment. Magi, skilled magicians, astrologers. And astrologers could be considered somewhat forecasters today, right? And what else do you have in a movie? You have a cast of characters. What are the characters doing? They're casting a spell. Most of us are aware of this. Most of us have been on YouTube for a while now. Some of this is old information, but some of it might be new for some of you. And again, we're going deeper than just 30 seconds on TikTok. It's not going to be over like an hour ever, unless I really get into a topic. But these little short ones, they'll be as brief as possible. So this is from the Latin magi, plural of magus, magician, learned magician, from Greek magos. I think it's a strong G. Magos. I don't know. Magician, magi. Magus. I think it changes when you add the plural. A word used for the Persian learned and priestly class, as portrayed in the Bible, said by ancient historians to have been originally the name of a Median tribe. From Old Persian, magush, magician, see magic. Also in Christian history, the wise men, who according to Matthew, came from the east to Jerusalem to do homage to the newborn Christ, related magician. Let that marinate in the back of your minds, Christ followers. And I'm a Christ follower too. We need to be real, okay, about all of this, about what is happening, all right? Most of what you see, most of what you practice is all about intent and what side you are on. Are you on the side of light or the side of dark? And people will tell you there's no such thing as a light witch. There's no such thing. Listen, okay? It's just words. We got to get to the root words. So magi is obviously different than what a witch is. We don't see a whole lot of that in the Bible, but we do see witchcraft and sorcery both condemned. But if they're condemning both of those things and they're in the same verse, that means they are two different terms and they have two different definitions. So witch and magi are not the same. But I will also argue that a lot of our ancient religions stem from the same place. We used to be all one. I do believe that. Maybe not one individual. We do spring forth from God, but I do believe there's supposed to be progress. We're not supposed to go back and keep repeating the same things over and over again. That is where we are, quote unquote, broken, if you will. Mage, magician, enchanter, circa 1400, English form, is that even a word? The English form of Latin magus, magician, learned magician. Okay, so we see that we have this in Norse. Mago meant son, attendant, servant. Old Norse moger. And then we get Simons and the Simonians and Simon Magus. William the Conqueror. Gallimus, magus, wizard. There we go. Philosopher, sage, wise. See, a wizard was a wise one, a wise person, a philosopher or sage. I did a video a while back, somewhere on the channel. It might be on the old channel, so I may redo it, about if you visualize in your mind the way that Gandalf looks and the way that Moses was described. They both have a staff. They both wear a robe. They both cover their heads and have, the robe type thing. Okay, they both call upon the weather and change the weather, all right? And Tolkien converted as he was writing Lord of the Rings. So people, again, they are wanting to demonize everything, even the good things. There are certain Christian channels on here that aren't Christian. They want your attention and focus on the negative and the darkness of things, on the counterfeit kingdom. They want you to believe that things like unicorns and rainbows and whatever else stand for child harming. They want to pervert all things. So the people saying they're exposing those things, they're calling good things evil because those are children's things. Okay? We need to be very careful. You might think you're on the right side, but you get caught up in the emotionalism of everything. That again, just like a tidal wave, it takes the good, the bad, the ugly, the young, the sick. Doesn't matter. If you're in its way and you don't get out of the way, it's going to pull you in, much like a riptide or an undercurrent in a river. You don't see it on the surface, but it's under there, much like the bottom of an iceberg. It looks like just a little thing on the top, but underneath it's massive. We need to be very careful in our behaviors, our words, our judgment, and our discernment of individuals, groups. And again, a lot of this is very easily broken down. A lot of these people, if you have a dialogue with them, if you get past their script, 1 or 2 questions in, they don't know how to answer once you start breaking these things down. They don't know why they do what they do. They are parroting. They are following. We're not supposed to be blind sheep. We have one priest who taught us the ways, and we have a hard time seeing him now because he's being misrepresented. And that priest is Christ. The Savior is Christ, because he connected us to the Father. He's the bridge. As much as I respect Muslims, and I don't care what the media says, I really don't. There are extremists in every group. I'm not going to demonize a complete group. You won't find that on this channel. So if that's what you're looking for, there are bigger channels, again, who say they're Catholic or who say they're Christian, but they really just want to get you into some type of bad behavior, like gossip, like angst, like anger, like anxiety. Fear is their favorite, though. Fear mongering. They harvest that and they use that energy to forecast. But what are they casting? Let's check it out. Now, some of these, we have to be very careful with this. And again, we're going to go over this briefly. This is not going to be it's not going to be a deep dive, but it's also not a TikTok thing. We're going to look at where our sources are coming from. So we're seeing this everywhere. They say it stands for Make America Great Again. Okay, great how? when do you consider that we were great? I want to know, because I want to know what past decade or century you want to take us to. Because you're saying again, and right there, that you want us to repeat the past. We're supposed to progress. We're supposed to spiritually, politically, societally evolve. Maybe not physically as physical beings, but again, you could call it evolution when we are taken through the doorway or the transition that is death, and hopefully we are transformed, transmuted, and resurrected. And I believe quantum mechanics explains that is theoretically possible, and not just possible, but probable if you have the right ingredients and you apply them in the right order. And order of operations is very key with any type of spiritual endeavor. If you're not doing things in the proper order, you're not going to advance, and you're going to consistently run into blocks. And I know this because it happens to me. And again, I'm trying to expose this to kind of break down the walls that are spiritually around myself too, that these people keep trying to put around. And again, it's not everybody, and I don't blame the people, and that's why I don't call specific people out, although it's getting very close to coming to that with certain individuals, because you got to expose the evil, and sometimes that is attached to a person. It's an American political movement. We know what this means, okay? So let's go here. Now, this is a Quora answer, which means it's kind of like Facebook, but I will say that there seem to be a lot of intellectuals on Quora as opposed to like Facebook, because most of what you post on Quora is not images or videos, it's actual people writing out posts, so it's very hard to be a bot on there as well. So what does Greek mean in, or what does maga mean in Greek? As a noun in Latin, maga may mean an enchantress, a woman with magical powers. Now they're really good there. This person says may mean, okay? So let's continue. There's an adjective magus, which could be employed in the form maga to refer to magical things. Ancient Greek had a similar adjective from which maga could also be used to indicate magical things. I can't read Greek. I'd love to be able to. I do have a book for Greek. I just learned my prayers in Latin, and I did make Greek lots too, so that they can actually help me learn, the alphabet and all that. But anyways, so when I don't read the Greek, it's because I don't know it yet. Hopefully, someday. I don't know if it actually reads how you see it, like Uayak of. I don't know. I don't want to butcher it. Okay, so that was from Quora. Now this is from Wikipedia. We're not going to click on every one, though. Again, we're going to be discriminatory, and you should be discriminatory in the information you accept and receive as truth. Because the moment you accept and receive something, and you acceptance, and then, what is it? You accept the invitation, right? You receive it by opening it and reading it, okay? And then you believe it by not tearing it up and throwing it away or tossing it out of your mind. So when these people are forecasting things and you accept, receive, and believe, you take it into yourself, you are now bound to whatever that thing is. This is why I do not vote. Something as simple as the weather. You accept the information from the forecaster, okay? I want to explain this so you can visualize it in your mind. I'm really trying to teach people a multiple array of things here, because we're hearing people don't have internal dialogue anymore. They don't know how to visualize things. What do you mean? What do you mean you don't? Like, this is new to me. I've never been around such a big group of people who do not have imagination. I don't understand that. I'm sorry. I'm trying desperately to get a grip on it, but I don't understand it. And I know that when I say things in these videos, then like at work, quote unquote, demonic spirits think that they can then just repeat everything and I'm going to be so scared. Like Goldilocks. Oh, I'm so scared. No, I'm not. Really. Really, I'm not. I'm trying to pass along this information to others. Do not accept, receive, and then believe something unless you understand what you're in agreement then. You're agreeing to something. Now, whether it's an ideology, a theology, a forecast, something as simple as the weather, if you believe that weatherman and it's going to rain tomorrow, then it's going to rain for you tomorrow. And I do believe numbers have something to do with this. You know how in school you learn the saying majority rules? Well, I did. What does that mean? It means the majority rules everyone else. It means the majority, like the more people who vote for a person or an individual, now that individual is going to rule. But it's not just that individual. It is the spirit of that individual. So if you vote for that person, what if you're voting for a machine? What if you're voting for a droid? And so when it makes decisions, it's making decisions through an algorithm. When they say artificial, now somebody made a post yesterday or a comment on my post talking about AI and how it was just a marketing campaign and slogan. Let's break that down. Artificial intelligence. How can intelligence be artificial? Well, intelligence is information, right? Or is it? I don't want to get into another word here. I'm sorry. I'm having a lot of pain. And so I'm doing a lot of moving around and not moving around and whatever works for that 20 seconds. Majority rules, right? So that theology or the spirit of that theology will then rule over whoever voted for it. So if you're voting for something that, and again, I understand that AI is not supposed to have personality, then that's the problem with it. It has no human reasoning abilities. So if it's presented with an ethical or moral dilemma, and we, like, say we plug in the chances for World War III and who's going to participate in that. Say we put that into their little quantum computer and we ask it, to give us its stats on that. And then we plan around that. Or what if, say, I was right, and in 2019, after warp speed, please remember who did warp speed. Please remember. Because Biden's just a patsy, man. That's all he was from the beginning. We know this. Who defined warp speed? Who come up with that? And then disappeared for a while. Completely disappeared. There was no new news coverage. And now his outside rallies are going to end, which I'm surprised they've done considering what happened with Kennedy and all. So what happens if you vote for an algorithm to rule over you? Is that going to take your emotions away? Is that going to take your human reasoning abilities away from you? Jen, you're going too far with this. That's never going to happen. It's not going to take us over. We're simply voting for it. You're writing down your name under someone else's. You are willingly, willfully, and knowingly choosing your master. I'm really surprised that certain groups of people are down with this voting thing, honestly. If you understand the history of slavery and how that occurred, you would not be voting for your own master. Our ancestors would be shocked that we're participating in something like this. Back in the day, a king ruled if he had the respect, the following, the provisions, meaning the military and the funds, to invade or conquer a certain land. And you better pray that that person had some compassion in their heart if they were going to rule over you. So if you vote for an algorithm that makes decisions without human reasoning, and you just feed it facts, you never tell it what truth is. It doesn't know what a lie is. It doesn't know not to lie because you've never programmed it to know that. Do you see where I'm going with this? Do you see how dangerous this could be for the nation and the world as a whole? If the algorithm decides that humanity is just too dangerous for itself, you shouldn't leave your houses. You shouldn't drive cars. You shouldn't do anything that might put you in danger because you die. It doesn't understand that death is just an illusion too. Algorithms don't know these things. They don't understand nature. They're ordered in the way we order them. And we're already a little disordered in our thinking. Who programs that? What if somebody like Noah Tavari, and I might be saying his name wrong there, or Hitler, or Nietzsche, or Gandhi, who programs the algorithm to make decisions? Well, seems to be these people. What does Hebrew say MAGA means? The term Krav Maga in Hebrew is literally translated as contact combat, like contact sports, right? Contact combat, meaning it's not just drone warfare, it is hand-to-hand warfare, right? Close encounters. The three-letter root of the first word is KRV, and the noun derived from this root means either combat or battle, while the second word is a participle form derived from the verb root nga that literally means either. Should I click on it? Real quick, we'll come right back to the list because you got to see the rest. Is derived from a combination of techniques from Aikido, boxing, judo, karate, wrestling, which now they're saying is fake too. They're saying this whole thing with martial arts is a deception and that none of it is real. I believe it teaches discipline, absolutely, but a lot of this that's coming out is very strange because we live in a magical society and nobody has even recognized it. So now we have Wiktionary, the free dictionary. Maga means enchantress. Maga in the feminine genitive Magi, the female meaning, first declension, a witch, an enchantress, a female magician, which is odd, right? Considering we've been told by certain individuals that our world leaders are playing parts, but not only that, they are playing parts of the opposite or opposing genders just to confuse us. Just so that when a woman is attracted to a man, but she finds out it's really a woman, or vice versa, that then they're confused and conflicted in their hearts and minds, thinking, wait, maybe I belong in the rainbow community. And oh my gosh, they're going to love bomb me until I get in it. And then they forget who I am again. Do you see how dangerous all of this stuff can get? Japanese word for MAGA. Now, this one I actually think is probably a credible source because you see right there, it has an actual Japanese source. All right. What does Japanese word MAGA mean? Confusion. Gee, guys, and who's the author of confusion? We live in Babylon, man. Like this is Babylon. And Sodom and Gomorrah. All of it. Okay. Krav Maga, we already saw that. But let's... Oh, this is actually from an Israeli site. So it shows us MAGA means contact, right? Who are they contacting, though? It means several different things. If it means enchantress and contact, and I always thought that Trump, not to be weird, but his mannerisms are a little feminine. And I know people are going to hate that I say that, but his mannerisms, some of the way that it's like he holds on to the podium because he knows that when he moves his hands, it's a little, and I've thought that from the beginning. Again, these are things, I'm very genuine, I'm very honest these days, even to my own detriment when I know people are going to attack me for it. Because I think it's important, number one, that we be honest and live as genuine as we can to our true selves, not something the media or anyone else wants us to be or has indoctrinated us to be. The person that you turn into when you're left alone by yourself with your thoughts in some type of seclusion. That's who you really are. That's you. Go look yourself in the mirror right now. Hi, me. There you are. Huh. The world kind of covers you up, doesn't it? MAGA, what does it mean in Sanskrit? A magician, and Sanskrit is one of the oldest languages that there is. A magician, a priest of the sun. Wow, man. They want us to think he's the second coming, right? God didn't come up with that name. That's a slogan that they decided upon. All right, so let's go to Italian Oxford. That's different. Oh, gee. From the Cambridge Dictionary, which is a credible source. Sorceress or witch. How much more do you need to see? MAGA in Portuguese. Sorceress. That comes from Facebook, and I clicked on it, and it's actually, she says it's my second language and my daughter's first language. What does it mean in Africa? According to Quora, it means a fool. Now, again, Quora is a little iffy. Well, it can be entirely iffy if you know how to type and write. And yeah, so what kind of a name is MAGA? That's so funny. So let's see. What is MAGA in Buddhism? The word MAGA means path. Okay. What does MAGA stand for in Greek? Now, again, when you get down here, you have to read and be discriminate. This goes to Moab. It doesn't use MAGA, okay? So you get into things that are close but not the same. Patois, I don't even know what that is. MAGA means thin and mampy means fat or overweight. That's funny. It seems to mean... That's weird. What does MAGA mean in South Indian? Literally translates to son. It is used affectionately to refer to a friend. All right. It says similar to maca, but it's not the same. All right. In Japanese, we saw it means... Oh, here's a... Okay, so this is a legit Japanese site, too. Calamity, misfortune, evil, curse. Huh. Yeah. Gee, guys, what do you think they're doing to everybody? Why do you think everybody's so different? And I told you that when you wrote somebody's name down and when you participated in that, it would change you. I said, it's not me. God gave me this way back, and I've been doing this for a long time now. So please forgive my lack of enthusiasm sometimes. I'd really like to see some of my fellow men and women and community members just snap out of this. But the sad fact is that I'm around these people. You don't have to believe me, but the people you see on the screen are proxies at best. Everyone on the screen is an actor and they're all bought and paid for. And when I was a child, we knew this. Traveling salesmen, men in suits, you did not trust them. They came to the doors, you don't let them in. We were taught these things, but just in a different way so that our minds, our young minds, could receive them because they knew in school we would be indoctrinated because those are camps. Campus is short for camp. Now, you might get indoctrinated with something good. You might go to a really decent school that's Catholic or Christian or even Muslim that keeps you away from politics as a whole and lies and deception as a whole. But I don't know that there is such a thing in public institution at all. I don't know if there ever was. So let's say, how do Rastas say amen? Amen. Right. Oh. Rastas are like Bob Marley. Rastafarians. Is MAGA English? What does the Hebrew word MAGA mean? Contact combat. So that's pretty much reliable. We know it means that. We know in Japan it means confusion, calamity, or curse. One of the 3 C's. Hinduism. Is it a word? The Brahmins residing in the island of Seka are generally called MAGA. Brahmin. What is a Brahmin? Doesn't that stand for bull as well? Huh. Huh. I could be wrong about that. I do have comments off. I usually have them on if anyone is here. I turn them on. I honestly don't like to see the trolls these days. If you understand and you appreciate the content, I would appreciate a thumbs up. I'm having issues with being able to read comments right now, so I will go in after if you've asked me something and answer it. But because I'm on this device, I'm not, again, I'm on a backup device, so I apologize. All right, so Latin, enchantress or witch. Now that's just from Wiktionary, but let's keep going and see if there's anything else here. Magna. But basically, we see at this point that it means witch, sorceress, enchantress. Okay. All right. So let's go all the way up and just see if there's anything that we missed that might be helpful. So that's Wiktionary, but we saw it repeated down here in more reliable sources. Now, do we have... Hold, please. I'm looking for something specific. Okay. Now we're going to jump to something else just for a moment. It is related. You can see what I'm typing. Let's do this. I had a theory about this, and I've spoken to it a couple of times, seeing how the world is playing out right now, looking at things called orphan trains. I'm starting to grasp what has occurred. And I just want to give a little insight that, again, this started with the youth. They were indoctrinated against their own parents. And I guess this was the generation that decided to actually enact whatever this is, because most generations hate their parents. Most will rebel a little bit. And most come back like the prodigal son. But every now and again, we come across a time where society needs change. They're sick of lies. And they know this, right? But they already have planned what they're going to prop into this vacuum. They already know Hegelian dialect, problem, reaction, and solution. They created the problem. They spurred everybody into some type of reaction or response. And now they are going to bring the cure for the disease that they caused. Same as cancer and everything else. This is the disease that they caused. This hatred, and basically it's hatred of self, right? If you hate another human being for the color of their skin, let's get rid of the color of their skin. They're still a human being. You're hating yourself. You're basically looking in the mirror and hating yourself. every time you hate your neighbor. They know that we need a cure, and the one that they're going to give us is going to be a proxy, like everything else. It's going to be counterfeit. It's going to be false. False light is what is coming. They're going to say, this is the age of enlightenment. We are all awakening. But it's not going to be that, because it never is. But I just hope that these mad cycles of madness can stop. Who started the Salem witch trials? Who was the number one witness on the witness stand? That they even decided, you know what, if somebody says that they had a vision or a revelation given to them, we just have to believe them. Just because we can't see it, we should believe it because we don't know what will happen. Discernment. I tell you all the time that I do this for God and because God asked me to, but I tell you all the time, don't trust me, don't believe me, go look these things up. And if you can't see it with your spiritual eyes, where I'm trying to lead or God has shown me, I've tried, right? I've done what I've tried to do. It is up to you to accept, receive, or believe. Are you going to accept and receive and believe some proxy, some false, some pseudo cure? That's basically, what do we call it? God, I always forget this word. I always forget this word. When they give you a sugar pill at the doctor's and it's not actually the actual pill, that's the word I'm looking for, and I'll always forget it. I don't know why. I just do. It's one of those things. Oh, somebody's telling me. First love way for Israel and welcome. I can't see your comments. I do apologize for that. Not really my fault. I tried turning the dark theme on. But people want to yell at you, and then they walk out. They leave. They slam the door, hang up the phone because they don't want to be convicted. They don't want to hear what you're saying. But again, don't believe me. Look this stuff up. And if you can't see what's happening in the spirit, I tried. I did what I felt God was asking. I know God has been asking me to do because it's not just me, you see. Divine Mercy, one of those churches, they've been getting messages for many years. Those people have more credible, better reputations. Because I guess that's what you got to do. You got to investigate somebody's life and see if they actually have lived a proper life. Is that what we did with saints? Because most saints become saints because they were huge sinners. They know the damage that transgression against natural law and the moral code of ethics can bring. So they started trying to preach what they had learned. Stop, don't do this. You're falling into a pit. I was down there. It's not good. That's what I'm trying to do with this. I was a makeup influencer. I was taking selfies all the time. When I said I hated selfies, I wasn't that kind of person. But people were nice to me, and I got a few nice comments. And I finally thought, I finally had friends. But I didn't, because behind my back or off of the social media site, everybody was making fun of me. Did I know this at the time? No, obviously I didn't. But that doesn't make it okay to be a bully either. Elizabeth Hubbard, among the first four accusers, and went on to testify against 29 people in the Salem witch trials, 13 of whom were executed. Interesting number that. Remember yesterday when we went over the Batman theater drama that happened several years back with the Bang Bang? What happened there? How many was it? It was 2012 and 12 people had to be sacrificed, right? And now we've got the witch trials and the number is 13, of course, because of course it is. The Star Witness. Let's click on the the Smithsonian there. And again, some of the institutions you are seeing that are being torn down is because they don't want you to trust what they're teaching you. They don't want you to trust information that they know is coming out very soon. So they've tried to do damage control, or they've tried to be proactive, just like they were with my reputation. They figured if we destroy her, when she's able to see these things in full, nobody will believe her. Because they tested me first. How many? Let's raise your hand. How many other TIs, targeted individuals, or people who have a lot in common with my testimony, how many of you were taken to an escape room when all this, oh, you're targeting stuff began. Because I heard another story very much like mine yesterday, and it began with her family, well, one of her friends, taking her to an escape room. And there always has to be two other people in there who aren't related to your group, because they're the observers. They're chilling. They want to see how you put things together. And I swear I was the only one who was solving anything. But you have to, it's a lot of back and forth, and it's a lot of memory recall. So if you're not good with colors and back and forth and memory recall, and just kind of, like I do, let information sit in there until you need it, you're not going to get out of the escape room. And after that, it was a night of games. We did Pictionary. My aunt never played games like this with me. Usually she sat on her laptop doing fake slots. Again, I don't know what is wrong with people that even when you have family over, that's what you're going to do. I don't get it. I'm sorry. I'm not going to pretend that I understand any of this. Unraveling the many mysteries of Tituba, the star witness of the Salem witch trials. How old was this young woman? Several young girls began to writhe and roar. It all started with whom? It all started with children, don't you see? All of it. How easy would it be, though? When you have a child, almost always the child is a puppet, and there's someone else behind there pulling the strings. Who pulled the strings the last 10 years in the school system? Start looking into the after-school programs in your area. I tried to speak out against them. I tried to get the local pastor to go with me. He would not. I tried to get my spouse to go with me. He would not. I tried to speak to people. Nobody would speak to me. My son didn't want me to go. Suddenly, he didn't want me at his concerts either anymore. And he was having after-school programs with a new librarian. And guess what the librarian's name was? Guess what her last name was? Morning Star. That's where all this started for me. Right there. Then I came out with a Facebook post about how the rainbow community, at its core, the organization, not the people involved, the man who started it, the man who started the Boys and Girls Club, look into it. He was the first one in the late 70s, early 80s. He wanted the age of consent dropped, and he was marching with young boys. Look it up. I'm not lying. It's the truth. I don't have to provide references for every darn thing, but I can if you want. Again, do your own research, man. It's out there. This all started with the children. If you have children and your life went to heck and you think you're being targeted, how much you want to bet that they've hacked all your accounts and are watching and listening to everything you say and do? Now, who's over their shoulders? Where are these teachers from that they've had in the schools the last several years who've been indoctrinating them? And what kind of ideologies do they have? Gee, are they from the UN? I'm just asking questions because I know there's a big UN push for our social studies programs, and I know that they allegedly took those over a few years ago. So again, I'm just asking questions, and if you're a parent and you don't know this, shame on you for not knowing it. Shame on me for not knowing it in time. I love you guys. This is a labor of love. So if you like the video for my sake, give it a thumbs up so I know that you're understanding how we're building here. Each video builds on the next video, and so on and so forth. Yesterday, if you watched the end of that video, you should have understood some of the things I said in today's video. So we're going to talk more about the Salem witch trials and look into the character of these girls a little bit, because that's what they do with prophets, right? You can't even believe something that's being given to a divine mercy cloistered nun. Why would you believe somebody like me who's committed every sin, every single one, at least once? And I admit that openly and honestly, and I am in repentance every single day. And it's hard, it's not easy, because our lives are steeped in this stuff. You literally have to go and isolate yourself and sit on your hands if you never want to be tempted again. That's what you got to do. I'm not even kidding. There is no choice. Like the road is getting, the line now that's being drawn in the sand is being even more defined. Are you going to live in Babylon, or are you going to walk? Seeing how I start trends, it's very possible that I will just walk away and see how many people go. Because for whatever reason, my family life, my personal life is now, like I said, greatly affected by everything that's happening at this point. everything I love is being torn apart and perverted. Rainbow's no good. I was called the rainbow kid as a child, had rainbows all over my wall. My dad did it for me. Love my dad. Rainbow wallpaper. You're the rainbow kid. Oh no, those are bad. Strawberries. Those are being recalled. When's it going to be chili cheese Fritos? I'm sure that's next. Like, I don't doubt it. And it's not just me. I realize that. So many of us, so many things that we love, so many things that we stand for in the foundations of who we are is being torn apart. So what is going to be left for you to hang on to? Truth, love, and who is the progenitor of truth and love? The creator maker of us all. But how do you get to that? How do you get back to source? How do you touch base? What is your telephone line? Your internet connection? Who is the Ethernet that leads you there to source? Who is the telephone line that leads you there? See, I'm trying to reach a variety of people here. Who is the bridge? Bridge is Christ. Don't be afraid of words. Understand what they mean, though, or they will be used against you. I love you guys so much. Have a blessed day.